Greetings. I have a message today that impacts my life very, very much so, and I wanted to share it with you. I got the core of this message last night while I was sleeping. It has to do with the family model. The enemy wants to destroy the family model because it's a direct representation of God and the Godhead. The father, the mother, the son, or the father, the mother, and the children, they're a representation of the creation that God created and He initiated. All the agendas and all the movements that's going on today wants to dismantle and disintegrate the family model and turn it into something else. This is of the spirit of the enemy. We know this to be true. Even those that are on the side of the enemy knows this to be true, and they want to scream out the loudest against such because they're haters of God. I want to share some scriptures with you because I think that they're incredibly important in society today. I also want to give an illustration to show physically what this looks like. We're looking in Ephesians chapter 5. And it starts off with, wives, submit to your own husbands, as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as also Christ is the head of the church. And He is the Savior of the body. Therefore, just as the church is subject to Christ, so let the wives be subject to their own husbands in everything. Now, we like to preach this because we want our wives to submit to us and do what they're told. I come from that kind of lineage. I understand it clearly. But I want you to listen a little bit further, and let's don't just cherry pick the messages. Therefore, just as the church is subject to Christ, so let the wives be subject to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church and gave His life for her, that He may sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word, that He may present her to Himself a glorious church, not having a spot or a wrinkle or any such thing, that she should be holy without blemish. So husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one has ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes it, cherishes it, just as the Lord does the church. For we are all members of His body, of His flesh, and of His bones. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. Nevertheless, let each one of you in particular so love his own wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. Now, this is something that is incredibly important in today's times, because a lot of the times we spend time with our friends and with other people speaking negatively about our spouses. And this is something, when you're taking this outside of the family and you're bringing other people into your relationship, you start to damage this relationship. Not only in your own eyes and in God's eyes, but also in the eyes of the community that you're around. Christ loved the church. He gave Himself for the church. We are to love our wives to such a degree that we reflect that love, the love of the willingness to die. We let arguments and little things get in there and drive wedges between us, and those wedges is what causes the separation of the family. Let me give you a little brief illustration. This quarter represents Christ. He loved the church. The church began with 12 apostles and 70 disciples. So here's your 12 apostles. Now, because of His love for the church, His bride, these spread out and affected a multitude, which spread out and affected more and more and more. Loving your wife and keeping the family model intact is not just important for you, for your wife, and for your family, It's important for the body of believers that will be affected because of your love for your wife and your spouse. It starts at home. When you love the people that are around you, your wife, it's supposed to be the husband. The wife is subject to the husband because the husband's subject to God. If the husband is in line with God and subject to Him, the wife has no problem being subject to her husband because everything about his life will reflect his desire to make her happy and please her. So she'll want to be subject to him. And in return, the kids will be subject to them because there's unity and not division. There's peace and not backbiting. And because of that, they'll stand out in the community that they're in, and everybody will want what they've got because what they've got is desired but not found in the world model. So I plead with you, with everything that's inside of me, find your way. The enemy can come, steal, kill, and destroy, but he can't enter what Christ dwells in. You let go of Christ, and you start letting go of everything that bonds you and your family together. You quit praying, and you quit receiving. You quit studying, and you're no longer approved. Find your way back to Christ, and everything that has been tore open, every wound will be healed. I love you, and I pray that you have a blessed day, and I hope that this message has touched you in some way. God bless.